The Poison and the Passion. Classic Movies by Judy Dungey. Madeline, 1950. Stars Anne Todd, Ivan Desney, Norman Wooland, Leslie Banks. Director David Lean.
This is one of David Lean's early and lesser-known films and stars his wife at the time, Anne Todd. Lean later gave us such epics as Bridge on the River Kwai, Lawrence and Dr. Zhivago. This film, like his wonderful Brief Encounter, is on a much smaller and more personal scale, but it's full of surprises. What begins as a scandalous Victorian-era story featuring a rigid patrician father, a love-starved daughter, and a devious fortune hunter changes dramatically mid-action into an Hitchcockian courtroom drama. Set in Scotland and based on a real-life trial of the century that has had people wondering for 160 years, the film traces the fortunes of upper-class woman Madeline Smith, played by Anne Todd, through the heady days of her clandestine romance with a wage-earning Frenchman, Émile Langelier, played by Ivan Desney. Lean has paid particular attention to the accuracy of the set design and costumes of the Victorian era in which the film is set, resulting in a visual black and white treat. She meets Émile regularly at night on the porch and sometimes in her maid's room after her family has gone to bed, and although she has pledged herself to him, refuses to acknowledge his existence to her family. Madeline knows that her domineering father will not accept a penniless Frenchman, and it is obvious to us that she is right. This is a preening, narcissistic fortune hunter who would rather buy a new tie than pay his rent. Her overbearing father wants her to behave naturally and marry her perfectly acceptable and wealthy William Minnock, played by Norman Wooland. So for the first half of the film, she walks a tightrope between pacifying her father, stringing Minnock along, and having her fun with Émile. She invites him to visit in the country during her holiday there with her family. In an intriguing scene, she and her lover meet on a hill overlooking the local village, where the villagers are enjoying a ribald dance. There in the moonlight, she dances for Émile until the two are overtaken by passion, as are the villagers. From that time on, Émile insists that she has indeed become his wife, and she now must introduce him to her family. He becomes more and more demanding, until at last she tells him that she cannot introduce him and begs him to run away with her. He refuses her, saying that if we marry into your life, not mine. She realises that she's in an untenable position and so breaks off the engagement, stipulating that he return her many letters and photograph, insisting he never contact her again. So far, so romantic. She returns home and, to everyone's great joy, settles down to the life of a debutante and finally agrees to marry the ever-patient Minnock. All is well, and we are treated to some even more gorgeous Victorian costumes as she attends society balls and prepares for her wedding. This is a true story, and Lean neither judges nor commits either way. He lets us make up our own minds as to what happens next. What we do know is that Émile turns up on cue and begins to blackmail our heroine with her letters, unless she introduces him to her family immediately. Otherwise, he will show the letters to her father. She fobs him off as best she can, and we follow her as she puts on a brave face through her daily life, shopping, fussing about beauty routines. Did you know arsenic was a common skin cosmetic in Victorian times? All the while not showing her inner turmoil as to what she can do about Émile. At least, that's what we think is happening. Her family go out and she invites him to visit her home, with her access to the actual parlour. He arrives and she's very welcoming, sharing hot chocolate by the fire and playing her piano for him. Next day, he's dreadfully ill, but recovers his strength and, encouraged by her seeming change of attitude, gives her a deadline to meet his terms. He has to go to France for a week, and on his return expects to be invited to meet her father. Surrendering at last, she sends him an invitation to visit her on the Thursday night. There is a mix-up, and he does not receive her letter, but eventually returns on the Sunday and hastens to visit her. At least, we assume that's where he's going. Lean keeps us in the dark about what does happen on that stormy night. We see her sleeping peacefully beside her sister while the wind, or is it Emile, rattles the windows and doors. Next day, Emile is found deathly ill again, poisoned, and this time he does perish. And now suddenly we're watching a different film altogether. Madeleine is arrested for murder, and the rest of the story focuses on her trial, one of the most scandalous and famous in Scottish history. Her astonishing composure throughout this trial as she faces the all-male jury and the vicious public excoriation, condemned by street preachers as Satan, shunned by gossiping society friends, and gloated over by newspapers, is remarkable. A family do not even attend the trial and burn the newspapers before they can be read by anyone in the household. The trial reveals every coincidence, every movement, every sensational detail of her truly disgraceful behaviour and affair. It's all out there. Everyone has an opinion. Did she poison him, or was it suicide? Lean gives no hint. Or does he? Watch the final scene and make up your own mind. I'm certain we've all done that before, whether it involved arsenic, a dingo, or mushrooms.
This story was read by Rebecca Rose.
Judy Dungy.